The stars twinkled against the void of space as the U.S. Intrepid drifted silently at the edge of hegemony territory. Commander Alan Ross stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the main view screen. 6 months had passed since humanity's disastrous first contact with the galactic hegemony. 6 months of furious work, reverse engineering, and preparation. "Status report," Ross said, his voice steady despite the tension filling the bridge. Lieutenant Samantha Wells looked up from her console. "All systems nominal, Commander. Weapons are powered down but ready. Our new shields are running at full capacity, but in stealth mode." "And our friends?" Ross asked. "The Hegemony Patrol Fleet has detected us," replied communications specialist Noah Rodriguez. "They're hailing us now, sir." "Pretty rude message, actually." Ross smiled slightly. "Put it through." The screen flickered, revealing the scaly, ridge-faced visage of a hegemony officer. Behind him stood the imposing figure of Supreme Admiral Zex Terrell, whose multiple eyes narrowed at the sight of humans. "Primitive vessel, you have entered sovereign hegemony space," the officer said in a tone dripping with contempt. "Your previous diplomatic failure should have taught your species its place. Retreat immediately or face destruction." Ross stepped forward. "This is Commander Alan Ross of the Earth vessel Intrepid. We come in peace to re-establish diplomatic relations." Admiral Zex Terrell pushed his subordinate aside. "Your species was deemed unworthy of hegemony attention. Your technology is primitive, your world's resource poor. You have nothing to offer. This is your final warning." As the transmission ended, Navigator Olivia Graham turned to Ross. "They've moved their battle group into attack formation." "Sir." "As expected," Ross replied calmly. "Let's show them what 6 months of human innovation can do." Aboard the Hegemony flagship, Junior Science Officer Kirvosh stared at her sensor readings in disbelief. "Admiral," she called out, her voice rising, "I'm detecting unusual energy patterns from the human vessel." "Your equipment is malfunctioning," Zex Terrell said dismissively. "Their ship is barely worth the energy it would take to destroy it." "But sir, these readings suggest—" "Enough," the Admiral barked. "Prepare to fire a warning shot. Let's remind these humans of their place." Back on the Intrepid, Chief Engineer Paul Martinez reported from engineering. "Ghost Drive is online, Commander. Shield modifications are holding steady." "Good," Ross said. "Diplomatic channels still open, Lieutenant Carter." Lisa Carter nodded from her station. "Yes, sir, but they're not listening." "They will," Ross assured her. "Mr. Rodriguez, broadcast on all hegemony frequencies. Let's make sure everyone in their fleet hears what happens next." The hegemony vessel fired, a bright beam of energy crossing the void toward the seemingly defenseless human ship. "Shields up," Ross ordered calmly. The beam struck the Intrepid, but instead of the expected destruction, the energy dissipated across a shimmering barrier that hadn't been visible seconds before. On the Hegemony bridge, alarms blared as sensor operators reported the impossible. "What happened?" demanded Zex Terrell. "Their shields," Kirvosh answered, her voice shaking. "They're using some kind of modified quantum barrier technology. It's nothing like we've seen before." "Impossible," the Admiral roared. "Humans are centuries away from such technology." Ross smiled as the hegemony chatter filled their comms. "Lieutenant Wells, a demonstration, please. Disable their lead escort vessel. Non-lethal." "Aye, sir." Wells' fingers danced across her console. Quantum disruptors charged and targeting their propulsion systems. The Intrepid's hull shifted, panels sliding away to reveal weapons systems that hadn't been visible before. Energy gathered at the emitters, then lanced out across space. The beam struck one of the hegemony cruisers with surgical precision. Its lights flickered and died, leaving it drifting helplessly. "2 more, same protocol," Ross ordered. 2 more beams, 2 more disabled ships. The hegemony fleet fell into chaos. On their command ship, Admiral Zex Terrell's face drained of color as he realized the full implications of what was happening. "This is Commander Ross to the Hegemony Fleet," Ross transmitted, his voice echoing across every ship in the alien armada. "We came to talk. Are you ready to listen now?" Across hegemony space, the message spread rapidly. Humans were not what they had seemed, and the galaxy would never be the same. Silence filled the hegemony command bridge. Admiral Zex Terrell's scales had paled to a sickly gray as he stared at the view screen. 3 of his cruisers floated powerless, their crews likely panicking. "Impossible," he whispered again. Kirvosh, the junior science officer, approached cautiously. "Sir, I've analyzed their weapon signature. It's like they've taken our quantum disruptor technology and improved it, made it more efficient." "How?" Zex Terrell hissed. "We only encountered them once. Humans are." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "Adaptable." On the Intrepid, Commander Ross watched the hegemony fleet's disorganized movements with satisfaction. Some ships were pulling back while others moved forward aggressively. "They're arguing among themselves," said communications specialist Rodriguez, who was monitoring hegemony transmissions. "The fleet captains want to retreat. The admiral is refusing." Security Chief Daniel Wilson frowned at his tactical display. "Sir, 3 of their destroyers are powering weapons. They're taking attack positions." Ross nodded. "Let them come. Lieutenant Wells, defensive protocols only. Show them we can absorb whatever they throw at us." The 3 hegemony destroyers fired simultaneously, energy beams converging on the human vessel. The Intrepid's shields flared brilliantly, not just blocking the attack, but somehow channeling the energy around the ship's hull. In engineering, Chief Martinez watched power readings with pride. "Shield conversion at 90% efficiency, Commander. We've captured most of their attack energy." "Good," Ross replied. "Store it for now." On her console, Navigator Graham noticed something unexpected. "Sir, we have movement from the outer edge of their fleet. Several smaller vessels breaking formation." Rodriguez's eyes widened as he listened to transmissions. "They're not hegemony military. They're transport ships from the Valerian and Brintac systems. They're cheering for us, sir." Ross leaned forward. "Interesting. It seems not everyone in the hegemony is happy with their rulers." On the hegemony flagship, a communications officer approached Admiral Zex Terrell nervously. "Sir, we're receiving reports of unusual chatter among the subject species vessels. They're watching the battle and celebrating the humans' resistance." The Admiral's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Find those vessels. They will be boarded and their crews made examples of." Kirvosh spoke up again. "Sir, perhaps we should consider what the human commander said about talking." "Silence," Zex Terrell roared. "The hegemony does not negotiate with lesser species." Back on the Intrepid, Diplomatic Officer Lisa Carter was analyzing data about the hegemony fleet. "Commander, I'm noticing something in their formation. The ships from subjugated worlds are being positioned as shields for the pure hegemony vessels. They use their allies as cannon fodder," Wilson said with disgust. Ross's expression hardened. "Rodriguez, open a channel. Broadcast to all ships in the area, not just the hegemony command." "Channel open, sir." "This is Commander Ross of the Earth vessel Intrepid. To all ships in the hegemony fleet, we have no quarrel with any species except those who would deny others their freedom. We have disabled, not destroyed, the vessels that attacked us. We seek dialogue, not domination." He paused, then continued. "To the ships of the Valerian, Brintac, and other systems, we see how you are being used as shields by those who claim to protect you. We offer friendship, not subjugation." As his words echoed across space, more of the non-hegemony ships began breaking formation. Admiral Zex Terrell watched in horror as his fleet began to disintegrate. "Launch fighters. Target the human vessel with everything we have." Hundreds of small fighter craft poured from the larger hegemony ships. "Incoming fighters, sir," Wilson reported calmly. Ross nodded. "Now we show them what else we've learned. Lieutenant Wells, deploy the drones." From the underside of the Intrepid, small ports opened, releasing a swarm of sleek, autonomous craft that moved with impossible speed toward the incoming fighters. The battle for the future of galactic civilization had truly begun. The void between ships lit up as the Intrepid's drones met the hegemony fighters. Unlike the bulky, heavily armed hegemony craft, the human drones were small and nimble. They darted between enemy shots with an agility that seemed impossible. "What magic is this?" gasped a hegemony pilot as 3 drones surrounded his fighter, not firing, but instead emitting a pulse that shut down his systems. On the Intrepid's bridge, Lieutenant Wells monitored the drone swarm. "Drones performing at 98% efficiency, Commander. They're disabling fighters without destroying them." "Keep it that way," Ross ordered. "We're not here to kill anyone if we can avoid it." Dr. Karen Stewart, the ship's xenobiologist, studied the sensor readings of the disabled hegemony ships. "Commander, I'm detecting life sign anomalies on the captured vessels. The crew members of different species show vastly different stress patterns." The subject races seem relieved. Rodriguez tilted his head, listening to intercepted communications. "Sir, some of the disabled ships are reporting mutinies. The Valerian and Brintac crew members are taking control from their hegemony officers." Ross nodded thoughtfully. "Interesting. Carter, prepare a diplomatic package. Basic information about Earth, our principles, and an offer of alliance to any species that wants freedom from hegemony control." "Already prepared, sir," Lisa Carter replied. Rodriguez broadcasted to all disabled vessels. On the hegemony command ship, chaos reigned. Admiral Zex Terrell watched helplessly as his fighter squadron was systematically disabled. Reports flooded in of crew uprisings on the affected ships. "Sir," a communications officer called out, "the human vessel is broadcasting some kind of manifesto. They're calling it a Freedom Charter." "Block it," Zex Terrell ordered. "We can't," the officer admitted. "They're using some kind of quantum communication that bypasses our jamming systems." Science Officer Hirvosh studied her readings with growing concern. "Admiral, I believe they're using entangled particles for instant communication. That's technology we've theorized but never successfully implemented." Zex Terrell slammed his fist on a control panel. How can humans possess technology that has eluded us for centuries?" "Perhaps," Hirvosh suggested carefully, "we underestimated them." Back on the Intrepid, Rodriguez reported excitedly, "Sir, we're getting responses. 5 disabled vessels have formally rejected hegemony authority. Their crews are requesting asylum." "Granted," Ross said immediately. "Wilson, coordinate with Martinez to establish shield extensions around those ships. Protect them from hegemony retaliation." The Intrepid's shields began to expand, creating a protective bubble that encompassed the rebel ships. In the depths of hegemony space, the news spread rapidly. On planets and stations throughout the Empire, subjugated species gathered around communication terminals, whispering about the human ship that defied the undefeatable hegemony. On the Valerian colony world of Dex Prime, Governor Kel Nar watched the incoming reports with a mixture of fear and hope. For 3 generations, his people had served the hegemony as miners and soldiers, treated as little more than tools. "Should we block the transmissions?" his aide asked nervously. Kelnar shook his head. "No. Let our people see. Let them know resistance is possible." The Hegemony Council convened an emergency session on their capital world. 12 Elder Vexthal, the ruling species of the hegemony, gathered in their circular chamber. "This human incursion cannot be tolerated," Council leader Vortek declared. "They threaten everything we have built over millennia." "What makes them so dangerous?" asked a younger council member. "Not just their technology," Vortek replied grimly. "Their ideas. Freedom, equality, cooperation without coercion. If these concepts spread—" He left the thought unfinished. "Deploy the dreadnoughts," another council member suggested. "Crush this rebellion before it spreads." Vortek nodded slowly. "Yes, and activate Hunter Commander Drazkor. Tell him to bring me the human ship, intact if possible. We must learn their secrets." In deep space, aboard his specialized pursuit vessel, Drazkor received his new orders. His lips curved into a predatory smile. The hunt had begun. Hunter Commander Drazkor stood on the bridge of his ship, the Relentless Pursuit. Unlike the bulky hegemony warships, his vessel was sleek and fast, designed for a single purpose: to hunt down and capture enemies of the Empire. "Status of the human vessel?" he asked his tracking officer. "They've moved deeper into hegemony space, sir. They're currently near the Kalos asteroid belt." Drazkor's eyes narrowed. An interesting choice. They must know we're coming. He studied the holographic map showing the Intrepid's position. The human ship had taken 5 former hegemony vessels under its protection and was moving at a steady pace through increasingly difficult terrain. "Clever," Drazkor muttered, "but not clever enough." On the Intrepid, navigator Olivia Graham plotted their course through the dense asteroid field. "This will slow us down, Commander, but it will be even harder for larger pursuit vessels to follow." Ross nodded. "Good thinking. Any sign of hegemony response?" Security Chief Wilson checked his sensors. "Yes, sir. Long-range scans show a pursuit vessel on an intercept course. It's moving fast, much faster than the regular hegemony ships we encountered." "The elite hunters," Carter said, looking up from her diplomatic console. "According to the information from our new allies, the hegemony employs specialized pursuit vessels for high-value targets." Ross smiled slightly. "I'm flattered they consider us high value." "Sir," Rodriguez called out, "we're receiving a transmission from one of our allied ships. The Valerian captain wants to speak with you." The view screen showed a tall, slender alien with iridescent skin and large, expressive eyes. "Commander Ross, I am Captain Kelvor of the Starlight Seeker. We've detected a pursuit vessel on your trail, Hunter Commander Drazkor's ship." "Is that significant?" Ross asked. Kelvor's expression grew serious. "Drazkor is the hegemony's most successful hunter. He has never failed to capture his target. My crew and I wish to help you evade him." "How?" Ross asked. "The asteroid field ahead. We know it well. We've used it to smuggle banned materials for years. We can guide you through secret passages." In engineering, Chief Martinez was making adjustments to the ship's ghost drive. "Commander, I've modified our energy signature masking system. We can now create up to 5 false signatures that will read as our ship on enemy scanners." "Excellent work," Ross replied over the comm. "Deploy 3 decoys on diverging courses as we enter the asteroid field." The Intrepid approached the massive field of spinning rocks. Some were small as pebbles, others large as small moons. As they entered the field, 3 energy signatures split off from the ship, each taking a different path. Aboard the Relentless Pursuit, Drazkor frowned at his tactical display. 4 signatures. How is this possible? His tracking officer looked confused. "The human vessel seems to have multiplied." "Sir." All 4 readings matched the Intrepid's energy signature. "Decoys," Drazkor growled. "Clever, but futile. Deploy seeker drones on each path." Small, deadly drones launched from his ship, each following one of the energy signatures. Deep in the asteroid field, the real Intrepid followed the Valerian ship through a hidden passage. Massive asteroids loomed on all sides, some passing so close they seemed to brush against the shields. "Sir," Graham said nervously, "this route is extremely dangerous." "Sometimes the most dangerous path is the safest," Ross replied calmly. "Our Valerian friends know what they're doing." Meanwhile, Rodriguez was monitoring communications throughout the sector. "Commander, something interesting is happening. News of our encounter with the hegemony fleet has spread to at least 12 star systems. There are reports of protests on 3 hegemony worlds." Ross nodded thoughtfully. "The real battle isn't just between ships. It's for the hearts and minds of all the species enslaved by the hegemony." As if to punctuate his words, a proximity alarm sounded. Wilson checked his scanners, and his expression darkened. "Sir, one of the seeker drones has found us. Pursuit ship changing course to intercept." The chase was far from over. The Intrepid shuddered as a massive asteroid tumbled past, barely missing the ship's shields. Behind them, Drazkor's pursuit vessel weaved through the field with unnatural precision. "He's good," Wilson admitted grudgingly, watching the tactical display. "Better than any hegemony pilot we've seen so far." Ross studied the sensor readings. "Martinez, can we modify the ghost drive to create more convincing decoys?" "Not without reducing our shield strength, Commander," the chief engineer replied from his station. "We're already pushing the systems to their limits." The Valerian ship Starlight Seeker suddenly veered sharply left. Captain Kelvor's voice came over the comm. "Follow us quickly. There's a dense cluster ahead that might give us cover." Graham adjusted their course, following the Valerian vessel into an area where asteroids collided and broke apart constantly. The debris created a chaotic, ever-changing maze. "Sir," Rodriguez called out, excitement in his voice, "I'm picking up new transmissions. There's a hidden outpost in this asteroid field. It's some kind of resistance base." On the screen, a large asteroid slowly rotated. At first, it appeared ordinary, but as they approached, hidden hangar doors became visible, camouflaged against the rock surface. "We're being hailed," Rodriguez reported. The screen flickered to show a grizzled alien face. Unlike the slender Valerians or the scaled hegemony officers, this creature had thick, leathery skin and deep-set eyes that glowed faintly. "I am Tekmar of the Resistance," the alien said in a rough voice. "Your vessel is being hunted. Come inside quickly." Ross hesitated only briefly. "Take us in, Graham." The Intrepid and the Starlight Seeker slipped through the massive doors, which closed immediately behind them. Inside was a vast cavern filled with ships of various designs, most showing battle damage. Aliens of dozens of species moved about, working on repairs or carrying supplies. "What is this place?" Ross asked as they docked. "A sanctuary," Captain Kelvor explained. "For those who fight against the hegemony. They've been at it for decades, with little success until now." Security Chief Wilson frowned. "Commander, I recommend caution. We know nothing about these people." "Noted," Ross replied. "But sometimes you have to take a chance on potential allies. Carter, Wilson, Wells, you're with me. Martinez, keep the ship ready for immediate departure if needed." The small group disembarked into the asteroid base. They were met by Tekmar and a diverse group of aliens. Some species they recognized from their encounters with the hegemony, others were completely new. Tekmar studied the humans with obvious curiosity. "For decades, we've fought the hegemony with little hope of victory. Then you appear, and in a single day accomplish more than we have in years. How?" "We didn't know we couldn't win," Ross said simply. "Sometimes ignorance is an advantage." Dr. Karen Stewart, who had joined the away team to study the alien biology, spoke up. "Your Resistance, how many species are involved?" 27 at last count, Tekmar replied. "All former slaves or subjects of the hegemony. We've been gathering intelligence, sabotaging supply lines, and freeing prisoners when possible." He led them to a large central chamber where a holographic map displayed the entire sector. Red dots represented hegemony strongholds, while small blue markers showed resistance outposts. "There are so few blue dots," Wells observed quietly. "Until today," Tekmar said. "Your broadcast has sparked rebellions on 3 worlds already." He pointed to flashing green points on the map. "The hegemony is scrambling to respond." Ross studied the map carefully. "Do you have information on hegemony installations, fleet positions, command structure?" Tekmar nodded slowly. "We do." "Why?" "Because," Ross said, his eyes fixed on the display, "I think it's time to take this from a defensive action to an offensive one." Outside the asteroid, Drazkor's ship circled slowly, scanning for traces of his prey. His sensitive instruments detected faint energy readings from the large asteroid, but nothing conclusive. "They're hiding somewhere," he told his crew, "and I will find them." In the heart of the asteroid base, Commander Ross and the resistance leaders gathered around the holographic map. Tekmar pointed to a pulsing red dot. "This is the Hegemony Research Facility in the Proxima system. Our spies report they've been developing new weapons there, weapons designed to control minds even more effectively." Lieutenant Wells studied the facility's layout. Heavy defenses, 3 orbital platforms, a patrol fleet, and ground-based shield generators. "Which is why we've never been able to attack it," Tekmar said. "But with your ship's capabilities," Ross nodded thoughtfully, "it's a risk, but a necessary one. If they perfect these weapons, all our efforts might be for nothing." They were interrupted when a young Valerian rushed into the room. "Hunter ship is scanning the asteroid. They've deployed probes." Outside, Drazkor watched as his specialized probes attached themselves to the asteroid's surface. They began drilling, inserting sensors deep into the rock. "Sir, I'm detecting a large hollow space within the asteroid," his sensor officer reported, "and energy signatures consistent with multiple vessels." Drazkor smiled coldly. "Prepare boarding teams. We'll flush them out." Inside the base, alarms blared. "The hunter has found us," Tekmar said grimly. "We must evacuate." Ross turned to Rodriguez. "Contact the Intrepid. Tell Martinez to power up all systems." The evacuation began immediately. Resistance fighters rushed to their ships while others grabbed essential supplies and data storage devices. "Commander," Carter said urgently, "according to the Resistance data, that research facility holds a captured human." Ross stopped. "What? From where?" "The first contact mission," Carter explained. "Major Frank Collins. He was thought lost in the initial retreat, but he was actually captured." "We can't leave him there," Ross decided. "Change of plans. We're going to hit that research facility now. Wilson, coordinate with TechMarch. We need a small team that can infiltrate while the Intrepid creates a diversion." Security Chief Wilson nodded. "Sir, Combat Specialist Eric Taylor would be perfect for the ground team." As they hurried back to the Intrepid, the asteroid base shook. Drazkor's probes had begun cutting through the outer shell. Inside the Intrepid, Martinez reported, "All systems ready, Commander. The Ghost Drive can give us one good burst of speed, enough to break away from the Hunter ship." "Good," Ross said as they reached the bridge. "We'll need it. Graham, plot a course to the Proxima system." The navigator looked shocked. "Sir, that's the heart of Hegemony territory. Exactly why they won't expect us to go there," Ross replied. The hangar doors opened, and ships began streaming out of the asteroid base. The Intrepid led the way, followed by the Starlight Seeker and a dozen smaller resistance vessels. Drazkor's pursuit ship moved to intercept, but the fleeing vessels scattered in different directions. He had to choose one to follow. "The human ship," he ordered. "Ignore the others." The relentless pursuit locked onto the Intrepid and gave chase. For several minutes, they closed the distance. Then suddenly, the human ship's energy signature multiplied, creating a dozen identical readings. "Ghost Drive," Drazkor snarled. "Fire on all of them." His weapons lashed out, destroying several of the phantom images. But as the real Intrepid activated its main engines, it surged forward at impossible speed, leaving the pursuit ship behind. In the Proxima system, alarms sounded at the research facility. Director Vexnar received the emergency transmission with disbelief. "A human warship, coming here." "Impossible." His assistant looked terrified. "Sir, what about the human subject? If they've come for him." "Double the guards," Vexnar ordered, "and prepare the prototype for testing. If they want their comrade back, they'll have to face our newest weapon." Deep in the facility, Major Frank Collins lay strapped to an examination table. His body was covered with sensor pads, and his eyes stared blankly at the ceiling. But somewhere in his mind, a small spark of awareness remained, and it grew stronger as the Intrepid approached. The Intrepid dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Proxima system. Ahead lay the massive research facility, orbiting a dead moon. 3 defense platforms surrounded it like metal spiders, their weapons ready. "We're being scanned," Wilson reported from his security station. "They know we're here." Ross nodded. "Good. Rodriguez, open all channels. Let's give them something to think about while our infiltration team gets ready." On the main screen, the facility grew larger. It was an ugly structure, all sharp angles, and protruding weapon arrays. "This is Commander Alan Ross of the Earth vessel Intrepid. We know you are holding our officer, Major Frank Collins. Release him immediately." The response was quick. Director Vexnar's scaled face appeared on screen. "Commander Ross, your reputation precedes you. I'm afraid I cannot release the human subject. He is far too valuable to our research." "What research?" Ross demanded. Vexnar smiled, showing pointed teeth. "Why, how to control humans, of course. Your species has a unique resistance to our standard mind control methods. Most fascinating." While this conversation continued, Combat Specialist Eric Taylor and Science Officer Julia Peterson prepared for their mission in the shuttle bay. They were joined by 2 volunteers from the Resistance, a Valerian scout named Lurval, and a massive 4-armed Brintak warrior called Grux. "The shuttle's stealth systems will get you close," Martins explained as he made final adjustments to their small craft. "But once inside, you're on your own." Taylor checked his weapons. "How will we find Collins?" Peterson held up a small device. "This scanner is tuned to human biosignatures. It should lead us right to him." On the bridge, Ross continued to distract the facility director. "Your mind control won't work on humans. You might as well give up now." "Oh, but we've made breakthroughs," Vexnar replied smugly. "In fact, your Major Collins has been most helpful in this regard. Perhaps you'd like to see him." The screen shifted to show a laboratory where Collins lay strapped to a table. His eyes were open but empty of expression. "What have you done to him?" Ross asked, his voice tight with anger. "Merely adjusted his thought patterns. Soon we'll perfect this process for all humans." Vexnar paused. "But enough talk. My sensors detect unusual activity in your shuttle bay. A rescue attempt, perhaps." Ross kept his expression neutral. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Of course not," Vexnar said mockingly. "Well, it doesn't matter. Your little team won't get far." As the transmission ended, Wells looked at Ross with concern. "They know about the mission." "Sir." "It's a trap," Wilson agreed. "We should abort." Ross shook his head. "No. They expect a trap to stop us. We'll just have to spring it and deal with the consequences." He tapped his communication panel. "Taylor, they know you're coming." "Understood, Commander," Taylor replied from the shuttle. "We're proceeding anyway." "Good. We'll create a suitable distraction. Wells, target those defense platforms. Let's give them something real to worry about." The small stealth shuttle launched from the Intrepid, immediately activating its cloaking systems. It moved silently toward the facility while the Intrepid powered up its weapons. Inside the research facility, Director Vexnar hurried to the main laboratory. "Is the prototype ready?" The chief scientist nodded nervously. "Yes, but we haven't fully tested it. The effects could be unpredictable." "No matter," Vexnar said. "Activate it now." In the center of the lab, a strange device began to glow with eerie purple light. The energy built quickly, then shot upward into a transmission array. On the Intrepid, several crew members suddenly cried out, clutching their heads. Carter collapsed to her knees, while Rodriguez slumped over his console. "What's happening?" Ross demanded, feeling a strange pressure building in his own mind. Dr. Stewart rushed to the bridge, medical scanner in hand. "Some kind of targeted neural attack. It's affecting human brains specifically." The trap had been sprung, but not the one they had expected. Commander Ross gripped his chair as pain lanced through his head. Around him, the human crew members struggled to stay conscious. Only Navigator Graham seemed completely unaffected. "Olivia, what's happening?" Ross managed to ask through gritted teeth. Graham looked confused. "I feel nothing, sir. The others are all in pain, but I feel fine." Dr. Stewart scanned Graham quickly. "Interesting. Olivia has a rare genetic variation in her neural structure. The weapon isn't affecting her." Ross fought against the pain. "Martinez, can you modify our shields to block this signal?" In engineering, Martinez was one of the few still functioning. "Working on it, sir. The quantum shield harmonics might be adjusted to disrupt the transmission." Meanwhile, the stealth shuttle carrying Taylor's team reached the facility undetected. They found an unused docking port and attached to it. Taylor turned to the others. "Once we're inside, we move fast. Peterson, you lead with the scanner. Lurvel, watch our backs. Grux, you're with me up front." They breached the airlock and entered the facility. Strangely, they encountered no resistance at first. The corridors were empty. "I don't like this," Grux rumbled, his 4 massive arms each holding a weapon. "Where are the guards?" Peterson checked her scanner. "Human biosignature 2 levels down. That must be Collins." On the Intrepid, Martinez's modifications began to take effect. A subtle vibration ran through the ship as the shields changed frequency. "The pain is lessening," Ross observed. "Good work, Chief." "Sir," Wells said, recovering at her weapons station. "I've analyzed the source of the transmission. It's coming from the central section of the facility." Ross straightened in his chair. "Targeted. Full power to the quantum disruptors." The Intrepid's weapons charged, then fired with surgical precision. The beam sliced through the facility's outer defenses and struck exactly where Wells had aimed. Inside the facility, alarms blared as the laboratory housing the prototype weapon exploded. Director Vexnar was thrown to the floor by the blast. "The weapon. Status report," he shouted. A technician checked the damaged systems. "Transmission interrupted. The targeting array is destroyed." In the room where Major Collins was held, the explosion caused a power fluctuation. The restraints holding him suddenly released. For a moment, he remained motionless. Then, slowly, his eyes began to focus. Taylor's team fought through the now alerted guards, making their way closer to Collins' location. Peterson's scanner led them to a sealed door. "He's in there," she said. Grux stepped forward. "Allow me." His 4 powerful arms gripped the door and forced it open with a screech of protesting metal. Inside, they found Collins sitting up on the examination table, looking disoriented but alert. "Major Collins." Taylor approached cautiously. "We're here to get you out." Collins nodded slowly. "About time. I've been waiting." His voice was hoarse from disuse. "They've been in my head for months." "Can you walk?" Peterson asked. "Watch me," Collins said, sliding off the table with determination. As they made their way back to the shuttle, Collins spoke urgently. "I learned things while they thought I was under their control. The hegemony isn't what it seems. The Vexthal aren't naturally advanced. They've stolen all their technology from other species." "We suspected as much," Lurval said. "There's more," Collins continued. "They're terrified of humans because our minds resist their control. We're the first species they can't simply enslave and drain of knowledge." On the bridge of the Intrepid, Ross watched as the rescue shuttle departed the damaged facility. "They're clear, sir," Wilson reported. "Heading back now." "Excellent. Prepare to retrieve them, and then plot a course out of here." Rodriguez, back at his station, suddenly straightened. "Sir, I'm picking up multiple transmissions. The attack on this facility has triggered something huge. Rebellions are breaking out across the hegemony. Dozens of worlds are rising up." Ross smiled. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them what we've found, what we've learned, and what we've started." As the Intrepid collected the shuttle and prepared to depart, the crew could see hegemony vessels already turning away, rushing to deal with uprisings elsewhere. The Galactic Empire was truly shaken, and nothing would ever be the same again.